Welcome back, Fire Crew. It's your captain, Yeehaw Yadam, and for today's video, we've got another look at another OP4 leader, with this week being Don Quixote Doflamingo. And my goodness, it's an interesting deck. It is titled the Whitebeard Slayer from the East, at least that's what I've heard. I haven't really gotten much testing with it, so let's just see what this deck can do in action. So, what is the Don Quixote leader that's coming in OP04? Well, he is the first green-purple leader that currently exists and has a very simple effect. He's a 4-lifer that states on the end of your turn, set up to 2 of your Dawn cards as active. Simple enough. Odin, quaking in his boots from set 1. Why you make that effect so easy, man? But yeah, what makes Flamingo cool or makes it really interesting is the fact that the majority of the film cards that exist in the current meta or in the game in general are in these 2 colors. So therefore, a card like Nami, which only searches the top 3 cards of your deck, which makes it a little bit susceptible to whiffing, makes it so that there's a high probability that she hits, because you are not only searching the very small green package, but you're also searching between Shiki, Uda, Carantesoro, Buena Fiesta. Funnily enough, she can search between 3 different 2Ks in form of Chopper, Shiki, and Buena, which is really darn cool. Buena can search also your Luffy's. So I don't really know. There's a lot of weird synergy that just exists in this deck that's also powered by just some really powerful cards in the form of 10-drop Don Quixote Doflamingo. This card, get yourself a man that can look at you the way this card looks at you. My goodness. This card is just very powerful. If you've ever been hit by this card, you'll understand exactly what this is. If you're coming from Digimon, Puppetmon was a hell of a card, and this is basically Puppetmon on legs. And if you back-to-back Flamingo someone, and in some specific matchups the leader, oof, we're off to the races. Not only that, we get access to the Diamante Flamingo Pirates card, which is a pretty darn solid card that is a blocker and an aggressor, and you always love seeing cards of that nature. You get access to Queen, Uda, Grand Tesoro, which is a card that you've never seen in the metagame before, but it is bananas how strong this card is. When attacking, Dawn -2 every turn, draw 2 cards. And drawing cards in this game is defensive, because at the end of the turn, once you pass turn, Flamingo will then give you 2 Dawn, which will give you access to basically all of this counter in the game. And even though you may not have a lot of 2Ks, which by the way you do, you also have access to Punk Gibson, Spiderweb, Hell's Judgment, Thunder Bagua, an exceptional lineup of defense. So I'm very excited to see where this deck goes. I know it's won a couple of events in the East. It's not like the #1 deck. Maybe it's not even tier 1, but I do think there's a lot of potential for this deck, not only because of its powerful color combinations, but just because of the amount of defense that it gives you from the leader itself. So let's get into some games and let's see what the Don Quixote leader can do. Okay, so for our first game of the video, we're going to be playing versus Kataku, and this is going to be a matchup that you're going to kind of have to get used to, because it feels like a lot of people are playing Kataku. So I think I lose the die roll here. He ends up going and choosing second, makes me go first. I go Buena Fiesta is going to find me the Nami, which is excellent. I'm going to go ahead and attack leader for 5. I'm going to roll out this Nami, get 2 of my Dawn back. Now, I'm not necessarily sure if this was a good play or not, because, you know, it is susceptible to Thunderbolt. But fortunately enough, my opponent just doesn't have it. I'm deciding here exactly what to do, because I do want to play the Diamante and get the Nami search, but I don't think I'm able to do both. Regardless of which, I do think it may have been good enough for me to just attack there regardless, but I'm okay with taking one more hit. Right, this leader really thrives at it. It pretty much aggressively always takes its life at least down to 2, just to make the Baguas a little bit better. He goes 7 at my lead. I can allow him to hit me. He goes 7 at my lead again. Looking at my life, moved it to the bottom. I'm just gonna go ahead and I troll there, because I meant to click block with Diamante, pitch a 2K, but here we are. That's fine. We lose a 2K, not a big deal. But being at 1 life is kind of a big deal. We'll swing 5, use the card action. It's going to go ahead, and I'm deciding exactly what to get here. Luffy can't summon the Grand Tesoro, which is unfortunate, but I'm going to go ahead and grab the Shiki. 2K is a 2K. He lets the Peril Sparrow go, which is awesome for me. Can't complain about that one. I'm going to go ahead and deploy the Sugar, and then I'm going to go and attack this Peril Sparrow once again. I'm going to go 7 at it now. Does end up grabbing a Charlotte Katakuri and now a Linlin from the structure deck. So a lot of really powerful cards are coming down. within the near future. I should have just attacked him for 8. But I guess I'm not necessarily sure how much different that would have been. But yeah, I'm floating 3 Dawn, and that just seems like a weird number in this deck. So I'm going to go ahead and Bogwa here. Don't need to block. Don't really think he's going to affect my board much this turn, but I think I'm going to go ahead and instead use the blocker plus the Shiki. If he goes ahead and Katakuris me, that would feel pretty terrible, but I shouldn't have been worried about Katakuri, as he went ahead and already he already went ahead and revealed that he had the 1 Dawn on his leader, so I should have just Bogwood and then allowed myself to get just to get into Flamingo range, and I can just Flamingo the Linlin here, which would have been really, really good. So I go ahead and I rest the Linlin, and I forget to cancel. That's on me. Yeah, so I should have just Bogwood, and we would be able to Flamingo him right here, which would have been really awesome. But instead, I just opt to go 10 at the Linlin. 5 at lead, use card action, grab myself another 2k. Unfortunately, so I'm going to stack that Flamingo towards the top because boy, oh boy, that's a good card. I do think these sugars are really going to have to put in work, but I'm going to have to summon something that deals a little bit more damage than just Diamante. Although I do have another Diamante in hand, I probably should just deploy it. I need cards that attack, right? As this sugar is probably going to come down and, you know, allow me to stop something, but it won't necessarily allow me to go ahead and punch over really big bodies. So it's going to go ahead and play a Sanji out of life, which is fine. We do have like Punk Gibsons, and we have just a lot of variety in our hand that we can go ahead and use. So I'm not really too worried. We have a lot of defense. He goes 5 at my Nami. I should have just blocked with Diamante, but this is okay again. Just another casual mistake. Goes ahead and uses Linlin. No ability. Going to go ahead and use the sugar to go ahead and rest the blocker because he has no more attacks. And then I'm going to go ahead and just eat Sanji for free. But it's also important to note, again, since I do have this 10 drop, that I could have rested the Linlin, right? And then I could have Flamingoed here to stop the Linlin from attacking once again. But such is life, man. We just be making error after error, huh? We're just going to try to just hit him as basic as possible. I'm going to go ahead and deploy a Gran Tesoro and another Diamante. It's going to go ahead and get my Dawn back. But if I am able to stick this Tesoro, he's going to be in a really bad spot. He has to immediately Thunderbolt it or just proceed to get screwed. So I'm just going to go ahead and block with, I'll lose a Diamante, but that's all he was good for anyways. Now I can block with this Diamante. Will I block with this Diamante? Okay, thank God. Whew, almost had a heart attack there. Goes ahead and plays another Linlin, but this plays straight into Flamingo. This is just, boy, oh boy, is he screwed now. Yeah, I get to just literally pound him. I go 5 at lead, he defends. I go 5 at lead, he Thunderbolts, but he Thunderbolts the Diamante, which is an error. So he did have the out to win the game here, but instead he did not take it. I'm going to go ahead and swing, draw 2, restand 2, and now we're in a really good spot. If we can just draw into another Flamingo, which may be asking for too much, but go ahead and sugar the Sanji. He plays another Sanji. That's not good. Oh, load, boys. Oh, load. Well, didn't draw into another Flamingo, which is okay. This is fine. Copium. But we're going to have to just apply some blockers and just try and win. Yes. Yes, forehead. So we don't have lethal this turn. I don't think there's really a way that we can, get out of it. I'm going to go ahead and draw another 2 off of this Gran Tesoro. Playing the Diamante there was also incorrect, I believe. I'm just going to use Nami's ability, just trying to acquire another 2k. I do get the 2k. He gives me a sovereignty, which is a weird time to give me a sovereignty, right? Because could have theoretically just put 4 on the Flamingo and swang it at a Linlin. That would have also just been really good for me. It's a little bit hard to tell exactly how many cards he has in hand, unfortunately, because of the way I cut this video, but assuming it's like 4 cards. So I didn't think that would have been the best way to go. I'm going to go ahead and sugar, and sugar's going to go ahead and at this point in time, I didn't know she was mandatory, but so I canceled it, right? Because I wanted to rest something else, but that's not how sugar works. The way the sugar works is that the first time they summon a card, you mandatorily have to tap her, and then you can choose which card to go ahead and rest. So I should have tapped the sugar on the pudding summon to rest on Linlin. So we would have 1 less 12k to throw at me. I do defend the first 12k. I'm just going to defend the next 12k too while I'm at it. I should probably use Diamante plus Spiderweb, and that should, in combination, allow me to go ahead and live and also keep up a blocker. I could also just not do that and just go hard in the paint, but what's the point in doing that? So yeah, we'll defend with the 6. We'll go ahead and use the Spiderweb. Then I'm going to go ahead and pitch a 2k and then another 2k. And then I still have an event counter that I'm available to, and I still have maybe 2 more 2ks in hand. He's going to go ahead and attach. Boy, is that a lot of down. Yeah, sure. I mean, you got it, boss. I'm just going to go ahead and block with Diamante here. Unfortunately, I can't save him. Draw another sugar. So I don't get the Flamingo. If I did have Flamingo, this situation becomes, again, a little bit easier. But I do think that he is low on cards, and it's just there's no way that he survives this unless he gets a Brule trigger or a Sanji. But I do have the sugar to counteract that. So we'll go ahead and see exactly how this gets played out. I'm going to go attack 7 at lead. He takes. I'm going to attach 2 here. So I'm going to Sorrow for 7, Dawn -2. There's the Flamingo that I needed. He's going to go ahead and combo out. Going to go 10. It's going to have to take that one. And then I'm just going to apply everything onto the Nami. And my opponent disconnects. Woo! Alrighty, so for our second game, we're going to be showcasing Blurple Kaido. Now, Blurple Kaido has been seeing a lot of popularity. A lot of these videos just have a casual Blurple Kaido gameplay. I think people are really interested in playing the deck, and it's a cool deck nonetheless, man. You get to play a lot of big dudes, and you get to ramp. Sounds good. Goes ahead and plays a Black Maria. Going to go ahead and attack him for 5. Another option here would have been to just like sugar clear the Maria, which is not a terrible play, and the reason I'm choosing not to do that is mostly because of the way that Blurple Kaido works, right? If I go ahead and play the sugar to rest the Maria, clear the Maria, then when he plays this Black Maria, I rest it, and then he clears the sugar, and then he ramps a card. So I didn't want to ramp him. I wanted to force him to have the stage, the Onigashima. Man, I don't get to say that card's name often enough. So go ahead and 5 at the lead. Gonna go 5 at the lead. This deck is a special, it's a deck that really specializes in going 5. Gonna go ahead and use the Queen here, and I'm deciding what to pitch here. I decide to pitch the Hell's Judgment because I don't really want to use too many Dawn minusing effects. I'm going to go ahead and restand 2 Dawn. So, fortunately for us, it seems like our opponent doesn't have that great of a start. He doesn't have much ramp. I mean, he's going to force me to pitch a card here, and that's absolutely fine. I don't really mind pitching a card. I'm going to pitch this sugar because I don't see myself playing it within the near future. He goes ahead and attacks me for 6. I take it because, again, I just take my life aggressively to 2. To really activate my Bagwas, I'm going to go 5 at lead, use the card action. I'm going to go ahead and unfortunately whiff on Nami, which is... What are the chances, boys? Someone do the math on that one. I'm going to go ahead and go 5. He gives me a 2k. Going to go 5. Gives me a Maria. Going to go 6. Takes. I don't really understand the logic sometimes of taking how the defense works. So I was going to go ahead and play another Queen here. I'm going to go ahead and choose to pitch one of my events because I just have I'm flooded with events. And therefore, they're just kind of like breaks. And I do see myself going Luffy Nami next turn. And if I can get 2 Namis to stick on the board, then man, we're in a good spot. He goes ahead and plays the King from OP01, which is Dawn -2 Papa Dude. Unfortunately, since he didn't have any earlier ramp, he can't really just get too much value. He goes 5/5. I'm going to Bagua just to gain a Dawn, right? And then I'm going to go back to my turn. I'm going to go hit this X-Ray for 5. Now, he's going to be set back an entire turn because, unfortunately, that Dawn minusing effect from King is a Dawn -2, which makes it so that he'll go back to 7, which is unfortunate for him. Said he didn't have one more Dawn to play in his leader to kind of make it so that King is a net Dawn -1. But it is what it is. I'm going to go play Luffy here, summon the Nami. Nami's going to go ahead and trigger effect and find me a Shiki. Probably should have added the Chopper because Chopper's cuter, but, min-maxing, right? So we're going to go ahead and pass it back to my turn with 2 Dawn up and just a ton of cards in hand. Man, once you see 1 Nami, this deck is so absurd. I'm going to go 10 at my my Queen here and just block and use my Bagua, right? Because that is just easier than using 2 cards in hand. And then he's going to go 5, 6, and yeah, I'll give you a card. I'll give you Diamante. I don't think I'm going to be summoning him anytime soon. And then he's going to go 6, and I'll give him Shiki, which I just found. And now boy, oh boy, is he in trouble, right? Just get to lock his entire board, and then I'm just going to completely ignore it and go everything face. 5, 5, 7, 6, 6. Boy, is that a lot of cards. So he does have 2 Dawn Up, which, could signify like Hell's Judgment, which would stop a couple of attacks here, which isn't necessarily bad, but that would put him in a Dawn -1, which would allow him not to play the 10-drop, and I think he desperately needs to play the 10-drop. So he goes in Bogwa's out of one of the attacks, takes another one, Hell's Judgment, sure, I don't care about Dawn -1 at this point in time. Go 6. And yeah. And lastly, guys, we have the Gruple Croc versus, I don't even know, Gruple Doflamingo? That doesn't sound right. So the Croc player opts to go second. I end up going first, play the Nami, pass. I think I'm the one choosing to go first, mostly because of the Diamantes and the 7-drop, right? But the deck, it's so versatile. I can go first, second. It's just pretty darn clean. I'm going to go 8 at my life. I don't really mind. This is the classic Gruple Croc where they just like didn't have early games, so they're just going to chuck big numbers at your face. And that's perfectly fine. I respect it. I do it all the time. I'm going to go 5 at his lead. And by this point in time, I'm kind of understanding just exactly what the deck wants to do. You know, we're getting it. We're getting it. You're going to go ahead and pitch 2 cards here using the Gatling. Then I'm going to go ahead and summon Diamante. Diamante's going to restand 2 Dawn, which is really, really good. He's going to go ahead and play Magellan. Shoal. That's a weird card that I haven't seen in Purple Croc. But I like it. I like it. So I'm going to go ahead and just... he goes 6, and that's just in the right amount for a 2K. So I'm going to go ahead and swing with Nami, use her ability. Find Grant of Sorrow. Unfortunately, doesn't have any counter power, but it is a very powerful card indeed. I'm going to go ahead and hit him for 5. And then 7. And then summon another Diamante. Or Uda. That's also fine. Could have, like, also summoned a second Diamante, which seems freaking cool, but we'll have to go for Uda, which is fine because it forces an attack from the character prior to a declaration of attack from the leader. So let's get a little bit more information. So he attacks my Nami for 7. And I'm deciding if I want to go ahead and use an event counter here, or do I just block with Diamante and give him a 2K? My hand is pretty light on counter, right? I have 2 Tesoros in my hand, which, you know, I really ain't gonna do too much. But having this Punk Gibson does make me feel a little bit more comfortable, right? Then he goes ahead and plays the Miss All Sunday. His attack ordering, by the way, excellent from my opponent. And now I want to see exactly what we do. Do we just ignore the board and just 5/5/5? But we also have 8 Dawn at our disposal. We kind of want to use Nami's effect to find a film card to then play with the Luffy. I do also want to kind of get this Gran Tesoro out of my hand, and man, Nami whiffs again. Sad. It's fine. We'll just attack this Magellan a couple times, which is probably fine for my opponent. If I was in his shoes, I would go ahead and probably allow it to go through. But yeah, I put him on not having a 2K. He just doesn't have the 2K forehead. And then we just attack him for 5. We could have probably, or should have probably gone 6/6 at the Magellan. He just opted not to counter it, which is weird. I guess he just wanted to reduce my Dawn -2, which is fine. We'll never ever summon a Flamingo versus you, but you do have to deal with the mid-range of this deck, and this deck is pretty darn good at the mid-game. Go ahead and attack him with the Uda, right? Because I already have the blocker in the form of Diamante. He goes ahead and plays Baroque Work to go ahead and find the Crocodile from OP4. He also draws a card off the leader, which is a really great combo. Enjoy that one. Then he goes ahead and 3,000 Worlds away my Gran Tesoro. Feels bad, man. But it's okay. I understand. It be what it be. Yeah, I'm not going to let this Uda go down without a fight. And I guess I looked away, so I'm trying to figure out exactly what happened to my Tesoro here. And I'm like, oh, man. So he does only have 3 Dawn to work with, which is not a lot. I'm considering going Diamante, block, and then going ahead and pitching a 1K. But I'm not necessarily sure that that's the best play for us at this point in time. So I'm going to go 7 at the lead. He blocks. He's going to grab himself probably another... Oh, he grabs the Galleon. Could have probably grabbed a 3,000 Worlds, which may have been a little bit better. Hard to say. I'm going to go Nami, use Nami's ability. Everyone's just going to attack. 5 with the Uda, 6 with the Diamante, and then summon another Diamante. Man, this is honestly is a showcase of just exactly how good Diamante is. The fact that you can just use it as aggression and then use it as defense is so good. I opt to play Tesoro though because damn, am I just if I ain't the greediest little lad. Unfortunately, since I didn't put one Dawn into Diamante, he doesn't restand. But then again, I don't really think it matters, right? I can just go ahead and do this to keep my Nami up. Passes it back to me. And then now that I get to stick a Grand Tesoro, boy oh boy, do we get to do some cool stuff. Gonna attack my opponent for 7. And yeah, he just wants to grind it out. And I respect that. That's exactly what the Crocodile wants to do, what he likes to do. But I like it too, brother. So don't mind me. Gonna attack, trying to figure out exactly what I want to do. And attaching Dawn here is not the way to do it. I think just hitting base is probably the way to go. And just super over combos my 5 because, well, he uses the Dawn -1 of the Crocodile, he pitches a non-counterable, then goes ahead and gives me a card, and I think he gives me another card on top of that, which is kind of cool, I guess. Gonna use Tesoro here, draw some more cards, hit my opponent. I really just don't want to play this second Diamante, huh? Just don't want to summon it, but I think I'm just gonna go for a game. Boom. Yeah, weird. So we're back with the deck, and man, another banger, dude. I think like OP04 is going to be a lot of fun. I feel like every deck that I've played thus far, I'm like, wow, what a deck. How powerful. Very strong. Cool. But this wasn't a deck that I was very interested in. But after playing it, let me tell you, this deck feels awesome. The fact that you can keep up 4 Dawn and be almost unkillable to many board states, the fact that you have the craziest grind matchup because of Gold Tesoro, and the fact that you get to play 4 of this guy is absurd. I didn't get to back anyone, but if you get the Flamingo back to back, that's a wrap. I don't know, deck is super cool, has a bunch of beautiful alt arts, has a lot of synergy. There's really not much to say. It's going to be a popular deck. I think it's super duper cool. It obviously has a lot of things that it excels in, but there are some cons, right? Let's talk about the pros and cons of the deck. The pros, super strong, very resilient, very defensive, solid aggro. It doesn't have like, it's not an Omega control deck, right, per se, but it has very good control tools in the form of Punk Gibson. Sugar, as you can see from the game where I played versus the Kataku player, this card basically blew him out of the game entirely. Sugar behind a blocker is really, really good. Being able to play a blocker that's aggressive and defensive, having options similar to Flamingo for stun, means that their defense for the deck is really, really strong. Its early games are also really weird because they'll let you take 2 hits, mostly because of Thunder Bagua. I was actually super impressed by this card because the fact that it just lets you just accelerate so quickly into the late game, which is exactly where the deck wants to be, anywhere between 7 to 10 Dawn. So you can be making plays where you summon Monkey D. Luffy or Flamingo, right? So Bagua, awesome. Judgment, not so cool. But almost every single card that you're playing here, which is about, if you remove these and add them here and just max this out, you're playing about 12 4K counters. You're playing, I think, like 14 2Ks. So the defense of the deck is really there. But it also plays a lot of uncounterable on the same token, right? So that's the con of it. You're playing Guild Tesoro, you're playing Nami, you're playing Luffy, and you're playing the Flamingo, and all these cards are uncounterable. And these events, even though yes, they are 4Ks and they are counter, they won't always be active. And if your hand is flooded with events that are just defensive without really good aggressive tools to get you out of there, like Nami or Tesoro, you're really going to be stuck in the water just pitching your hand for nothing. But yeah, that's really the pros and cons. It isn't much of a con. I just don't think this deck will do very good into removal, as you do have a finite amount of good bombs. So let's talk about that, right? What do I mean by that? Chopper obviously not being played, Nami and Luffy, right? I wouldn't say Nami is a bomb because she's a 5K. It's a card that is susceptible to be cleared by your opponent's leader. Obviously, this doesn't apply to Rebecca, so technically, I guess Nami would be a bomb versus them. But usually, this is a card that's very easy to remove for a lot of decks. It's 3 cost to 5K. It's within the realm of easy removal. This Luffy, on the other hand, still not much of a bomb, but it's good enough, right? A 7 for 7. When we're talking about stats lines in set 4, where we're going 8 for 9s, isn't too big, but he's big enough. Sugar, obviously not Diamante is a 6k. It's almost like a queen. You wouldn't consider these bombs. They're very good cards, but there wouldn't be bombs. The only bomb that you truly have is the Luffy and the Flamingo. And if your opponent is able to remove that and you're just stuck with events, you can't really apply too much pressure. Red Rock, 3000 Worlds, any sort of removal or spot removal is going to do really, really well into this deck. And because of that, I do think blue has kind of a good matchup. Although I did show 2 games where I was playing versus blue and I did very well, I don't necessarily think that that might be the norm, right? I think a good Crocodile game where they can go ahead and play double Kaido against you and things like that are going to be really, really tough. They're winnable off the back of your very powerful cards, but they're going to be very difficult. But yeah, I think it has probably a decent matchup versus red. The yellow matchup is probably very, very good. Purple is still not a mono color as of yet, so it is what it is. But I think it will have a good time versus a lot of decks. But decks that are just playing 4 of Red Rocks and 4 of 3000 Worlds and Mihawks and Kaidos, it's going to be a little tough. But other than that, great deck, fun deck, Flamingo. And with that, I think that's going to be my explanation for the deck. If you guys like this video, make sure to hit that like button. If you have any comments you want to talk about this deck, anything that I may have gotten wrong or maybe misspoke, please make sure to leave a comment in the comments section. And as always, guys, if you're enjoying the One Piece TCG content, make sure to hit that subscribe button so we can keep pumping out that OP TCG content. And I'll see you guys on the next one.